and we're saying if the value again is greater than 0, less than 5,000, then turn on the green, then have the red on as well. All the rest of them should be off. If the value is greater than 5,000 and less than 10,000, we want to shift from green to yellow and then keep the red on. Now if the value is greater than 10,000 and less than 15,000, again using in milliseconds, okay, we're going to turn on the red light and then we're going to turn on the green light. You can see these transitioning as we speak about it. Okay, so now that we know how to use a structured text timer inside of CodeSys, what we're going to do is actually use this in an example, right? And this example is going to be a like a traffic light. For instance, we have a north light, green, yellow, and red. We have an east where it'd be green, yellow, and red. So a natural traffic light, right? Not just a case example, so you can actually see exactly what we can do for an if then else statement. Now, what I recommend too, so I'm going to briefly talk through this real quick so that you can understand. What I recommend doing is exactly what I did. I made a brand new program. It's called Traffic Light Structured Text. Okay, and the reason I'm saying make a brand new program is so that when you go back and look at stuff, you can actually have it structured easily so that you can find and see what you did in that example. So if you ever need to go back and look at your past stuff when you're trying to create something new, or even go back and refresh yourself on, okay, this is how this is done, a good use case example, you can do that, right? You can just open up CodeSys and then open up that specific program, find exactly what you need to look at, and go from there. Now in this instance, so it's completely up to you if you want to start a new program or if you want to use the program that you currently have. Now in this instance, what we have is I've made a timer. I'm going to show you to another instance. This is a cool way to actually do this. So I'm going to show you an example too. Timer, let's just type in timer down here. So instead of declaring the variable up here in the variable box, you can click this light bulb icon right here and click declare variable. Now this is going to be a timer. In the case of using a timer, you're going to come down and use the drop down. You're going to see that the TON is not there. So then you're going to be like, okay, cool, I can't do nothing, right? I still need to type it in up top. Well, not necessarily. Just like up top where we had our instance where we can use the instruction or the input assistant, you can use this arrow key and go to input assistant. This is where you're going to come into standard types, where you can use standard types of things that you want to use, or you can come into structured text right here, go to standard, and then go to timer and click TON. Now this is going to be where you can add your variable, and now we can add this in. Now I want to show you this because it's going to add, when I do this, it's going to automatically add it to my variable list up top. Watch. See, it just added that timer up here. So in the instance of you wanting to save the ability to have to go up top, declare all your variables, and come down and type things out and stuff like that, you could just declare it right here in the line inside of structured text. Now the reason I didn't do that before, again, is kind of confusing, and I want to lay down the ground rules first, because obviously when you're, let's just take that out because I didn't want to put that in there. When you're coming in, and if you want to simply delete a variable, you just delete it, just like I just did. But if you're coming in adding it up here, you're kind of wondering, okay, what can I put in, right? What are some things I can actually use, understand my variables that I can use? Well, this is pretty simple. You come in and see right here, right? So if I came in and put in timer, and then timer equals or is going to be, then I can come over here and add my input assistant. Same exact thing, right? So TON right here, close it off with a semicolon. So that's the same exact thing, except you can do it inline down here. So I wanted to show you that because, again, we haven't quite talked about that. Let's go through our structured text timer. So we have a timer, okay, and we opened it up. We got the N as the enable as the start bit. The start bit's going to be a bool. Okay, so then we have a comma, then we have our PT, which is going to be the timer time. How long is the timer preset going to be, right? This is the preset time. We have that equal to 20 seconds. Okay, down on below that, so this is the timer itself, right? Down below that, I have a standard bit that I made that says the timer's finished. Simple, right? Nothing really fancy. Timer's finished. Now, in this instance, I said the timer's finished when the Q bit, which is the done bit for the timer, is active. So I'm saying, remember in structure text, you're from left to right. So whatever the value of this guy, which is the timer Q, which is timer done, is going to be turning that boolean on, right? So that's going to be controlling that. Let's go and write a quick statement. Okay, so I want this timer to be free running. So I'm going to say if, and again we'll come over here, grab our instance. If the timer Q is done, then we want the start bit to be off. Okay, so what I'm going to say is start bits equal to 0, semicolon. Close that. Then else, what we want to do is the start bit 1 is going to be on, which is a 1. So we're going to do start bit 1. Come over here, close that off, semicolon. So this is real simple if then else statement, right? So I'm saying if the timer's done, which is the Q bit active, then I want to turn the start bit off, which is going to turn off the timer. So I'm turning it off with a 0. Else, I want the start bit to be on. So immediately, as soon as the timer's done, it's going to cut off the start bit, which turns off the timer. The timer then is going to clear the queue. Then it's going to turn on the start bit again. Really simple statement. It's really effective though, right? I think we all can agree on that. Now what we're going to do is add in the next statement down below. Okay, so now we need an if statement, and this if statement is going to be controlling the lights, the north light, north light green, or north green light, the north yellow light, red light, green light, east green light, yellow light, and red light. Right, so that's all we're going to be doing, cutting these off and on. But we need to understand how to do that. So let's go ahead and say if. We're going to add that. We can do our timer time right here, and say a value if it's greater than, let's just say greater than 0, and the timer value. And I'm going to show you this because in the instance of what we're going to do, we can't, and I'll show you. You're not going to be able to compare a time against a integer. Now, this 0 bit, or this 0 that we're using, and this value that I'm going to be putting in here, 5,000, and this is in milliseconds, we're not going to be able to, it's going to say right here, you cannot compare a time with an int. No worries, we're going to convert that over in just a second, but let's go ahead and finish out the statement. Okay, let's go ahead and populate this. We're going to say north green light. I'm going to head add all my bits first to keep everything really streamlined and quick and easy for you. So we'll add this in. This would be the red light. Okay, so all I'm going to do is say I'm going to control all of my lights. The north light, and the east lights. All right, so this is yellow. This is going to be red. Now I want to say equal to. This is equal to 1. Close that statement with a semicolon. This is going to be equal to 0. Close that statement with a semicolon. This is going to be equal to 0. So all of these other ones are going to be equal to 0 in the event of this statement being true. Okay, we'll talk about that in just a second. Just I want to make sure that really is clarity to you. right? It's clarity. That's the key to learning, is being clear about what you're, what you're seeing and what you're being taught, right? And what you're practicing on too, because I want you to do the same thing. Now, in this instance, we can't compare, and if the statement is true, if the time is above 0, then the time is, again, right here, under 5,000 milliseconds, which is, again, is milliseconds. Our timer's in seconds, but we still can use milliseconds. Then we want the north light to be on and all the other lights to be off. Really, really, really a simple. Let's just go ahead and show that all the other ones off, just like that. Now we want to be able to compare this against this, so we're going to say, okay, well, what do we need to do? We need to come in and add a application. We're going to do a POU. This POU is going to be ladder logic. I'm just going to make a ladder logic real quick. I'm going to come over here and add in a variable. I'm going to do a box this time. This is just going to be a box for a simple ladder. I'm going to control this box. Okay. I'm going to go conversion operators. Okay. I'm going to convert a time to an integer. So I'm going to say to int. It's going to change the box. I'm going to come over here to my program. I'm going to go into here. I'm going to grab the ET bit, which is the timer value that they're using, right? The timer, how long the timer's been active, the accumulated value. Then I'm going to come in and insert a variable or assignment right here. I'm going to actually type this out. I'm going to say this is going to be timer 1 ACC value. Okay. Then I'm going to change that to an integer. Perfectly fine, right? And we can change this to an input-output variable, to a global, all this stuff if we want. Let's leave that just like it is right now. Okay. So that adds it up top. All right. So now we need to add this down here so it's runnable. So we need to come down here and add the task. So add an object, program call, application. We're going to add this in down here. Add it in. Now it's added in. That's good. So now what we're going to do is come in here and use this in our statement. So in our structure text, we're going to change these. I'm going to change these to that new converted value that I just had. So in our application, our ladder logic right here, we're going to add that in just like that. Come in, add this in here just like this. And we're going to get that value. So now we have one light control. Okay. So what I'm going to do is shrink up the variables, and I'm going to come in here and add this in again. So I'm going to copy this, paste it, and I'm going to change the values. So I'm going to say now this is above 5,000 and this is less than 10,000. Now I want to change the light control. So I want to cut green off and I want to turn on yellow. All right. So that's really where we're at. We're changing the state of the lights. Okay. Now I want to do this again. Okay. Paste that in there. This time I'm going to change this from 10,000 to 15. Now this is using the whole thing, right? In the statement of now we're going to change this to a red, and we're going to cut the green on right here. So we're going to cut the green on. So now we can see that. Now let me shrink this down so you can see it a little bit better. That's a little bit too much though. I really want to change this value so it's something that, let's just go 125. See if we can, that helps you see it a little bit better. So you can see right now we're doing a controlling, we're saying if the value is above 0 but less than 5,000, in milliseconds, we're going to turn on the green light. If the value is greater or less than 5,000, or greater than 5,000, and less than 10,000, then we want to turn the yellow on and the green off. If the value is, again, above 10,000 and less than 15,000, then we want to, oh, this is a good thing we do this. So we want to turn off the yellow light, turn on the red light. Then we want to turn on the green light. Now we have one more to put in. We're going to do this and put this in here. So this one's going to be this is going to be the final one we do. Okay, 15, and this is going to be 20. All right, so this one is going to keep that red. Okay, so this is going to be 0. And what we're going to do is a yellow. Okay, so in this statement we're going to turn on the yellow, and after this it will loop back up top to here. So when it restarts, it will loop back up to top here. So this is all we need in this environment. Okay, so with all this being said, now let's go ahead and do our visualization. This is really a simple task. Here is what we're going to do is we're going to do a couple lights. I'm going to drag our lights over here. Okay, I'm going to shrink these lights down. Now what I want to do here is change the light color to green. Okay, I'm going to copy paste to keep the same sizing. I'm going to change this to yellow, copy paste, change this to red. Okay, now let's align these. I'm holding the shift key. I'll come over here and align these left. Okay, I kind of want to get the spacing right, so let's make sure the alignment's still good. Align these left. Okay, so let's do this. Copy this, copy all these, and Control V. Move these over here just like this. Okay, so now we have our lights, and let's do this. Align these up, so align these to top. This is the reason why I do this, so I can get perfect alignment. Align these top. Okay, so we have our lights. Well, they don't really kind of look that good yet, so let's do this. Let's come over here to Common and Basics. We'll come over here and grab this, and then we'll shape it down. And come over here and let's go ahead and get this side by side just like that, and get the light. Now what I'm going to do is add this back color. Okay, the colors, the normal state. I'm going to get the fill color, change it to black. Now I want to change the radius. Get that just like that, and then I'm going to put this on top of here. Now I'm going to send this to back in the order. I'm going to send it to back just like this, and then move it just like this. Okay, so I may need to get this a little bit wider just to kind of get a little bit better feel of how a traffic light looks, right? Okay, so that looks better. Copy, paste, do this over here. Okay, so what I want to do really quick is align these to top. Okay, so now I can send this to back in the order just like that. Alright, so now we need to get our lights and do our graphics. What's going to be controlling them? We need to set our variables. Okay, so we're coming here to Application. We're going to come over here to the PLC, which is the PLC program, and we're going to do green light north, This is going to be the next one. This is green light yellow, or I'm sorry, green light. It's north yellow. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so now the next one is the red. Okay, north red. This is going to be the east side. Okay, so east green. Good. All right, so this is going to be east yellow, and this is going to be east red. Okay, now one thing that we always do is we always put in some text, so just to keep us where we understand what's there. So let's go to common elements, and we'll go over here to text, and we'll say this text value is north. Let's change the font here to right here. Let's change the font. Let's see, the font that we're using. Let's change that to bold, so it gets just makes it look better, right? It really stands out better. I like to do a bold. Let's do 12. Okay, so now we got that. Let's copy this. Being that we have our design done, let's copy this and paste it. Come over here, and then we'll do, this would be east. So now we know what is what. So let's make sure we align these to top, just like that. Now, all right, so now we can come in here and test this stuff. So let's go into build. We want to build, as that's going to be our compiler. That's going to compile everything that we just did. Verify, make sure everything what we did is correct and working. So we have 0 errors. All right. So now I want to turn on my simulate. All right. When we simulate, that's going to help. Actually, that's going to turn on this red down here, so you know it's in simulate right here. And then we're going to turn on the, or we're going to actually log in and download. All right, so now it's logged in and downloaded. So what we need to do is come into debug and start. So now the north light, let's cut this on over here, shrink this down so you can see the lights and you can see the variables and how things are working. All right, so just like we talked about before, right? And I hope you can see the lights, see the way things are working. But it's green light, yellow light, red light. Okay, so this right here is wrong. See this? The red should not be on. So where do we have the red on? All right, so this is really simple. Okay, so right here, this is green, this is yellow. All right. And this is going to be red, and that's green. So right here, so let's look at this real quick. Let's go to, this is why we debug. We'll go offline. All right, so if the value is above, it looked like it was doing it when it turned the green on. It's red, yellow, look like red. So the north red was on, and we may have it may have be our visualization. Let's put this up top again. Let's actually stretch this out. I don't know that we pointed this in the right. We pointed this one in red. So the logic was right. We need to point this one to red. Okay, so let's make sure this is east, this is east, this is east. Okay, good. All right. So it wasn't the logic. The logic was perfectly fine. It was the actual visualization that we did. So this is why we do things. This is why we test. Okay, so now we download. Okay, we're downloading, and then we're going to, now the visualization is going to kind of disappear once it downloads, which is fine. We're going to come over here to online. We're going to test. We're going to start the testing. We're going to get the lights back. Okay. Now everything is working. So the red's on the north, and the green is on the east. The yellow is on the east, the red's still on. Okay, so now we're going to come in. We didn't cut on the red down here, so why didn't we cut the red on? That's because of the logic down here. Let's see why we didn't cut the red on down here. Because of our first logic, we did not turn on the red, which is perfectly fine. Let's do that. Stop, go offline. So in the very first one, we need to turn off the red. Very second one, when we're controlling the yellow light, we need to have the red on. This one needs to turn them off. Okay, so I think we're good now. Let's log in, which is the download. Okay, so now we're downloading. These are our values. We're going to start our simulate. Now our red is on. So the north is going through its process. So the north is red, the east is green. Okay, so the east is yellow, north is red. Now we're going to transition to red. Then, yeah, okay, so now everything is working properly. Everything's working 100%. So with this simple illustration of how things are done with the if, then, else statements, just actually 4 statements really. The first statement up here, right? The second statement, the third statement, and the fourth statement. We're saying if this happens, do this. If this happens, do this. And we're comparing it off values. And we're saying if the value again is greater than 0, less than 5,000, then turn on the green, then have the red on as well. All the rest of them should be off. If the value is greater than 5,000 and less than 10,000, we want to shift from green to yellow and then keep the red on. Now if the value is greater than 10,000 and less than 15,000, again using in milliseconds, okay, we're kind of turn on the red light and then we're going to turn on the green light. You can see these transitioning as we speak about it. So as this is going through, it's saying if it's greater than 15,000, less than 20,000, that's when we reset anyway, then we're going to come in and actually turn on the red light and then turn on the yellow light. Okay, now at this point you can see this statement right here is what's keeping our timer free running, keeping our timer running the whole process, right? So if you think about how things are done, it's just that simple of keeping this process. But now we have a use case of how we use a structured text timer, how you can use a structured text timer, how to make one reset, how to actually use the input output and stuff like that. So just gives you a good solid example of a real world how you can do this, something you see every single day. That's why we use the traffic light example. You see traffic lights all the time, right? This is a very simple illustration of using a traffic light. Please don't take this code and go put it in a traffic light, but again, because you would have to add a couple more things to it for safety components of people driving. But again, when it comes down to it, they're a little bit more sophisticated too with ground sensors and stuff like that. So when it comes down to it, this is a real solid implementation though to give you to teach and learn. So I would suspect you actually had built this the same time I'm building it, so you have the actual application and you can see it running. You can always now notice we're running. We need to go back to our debug, hit stop, go back here, log out. What I want you to do is save, hit the save button. Can't save enough. Now at any given time you can close all this stuff out. Okay, close all this out. Let's just say we close the project. Now we can come back in and open the project back up any given time we want to. let's open the project. Okay, so we can open the project. This will be traffic light, and we can easily get back online and look at this for future reference, right? So what did we do back when we did the traffic light example? What did we do when we did, you know, as far as maybe a structured text example? So we can come over here, do online, and again, we don't have anything open yet. So as far as the code or the visualization, so that's perfectly fine. But I wanted to show you this as it builds it, as it's going through. Each time it's going to have to build the code, right? So let's open up the PLC logic, and let's open up the visualization. Okay, so now let's go on to start, and our traffic light's back working. So this is where you can come in and have the code working and have everything, and this is why I build it so simple and so small, so you can come over here and see the code running. You know, it's really a cool thing that where you can see the visual side of it, and you can see the actual code working in the background. It really kind of helps you with that learning and passing on that information. So sorry about how long the video is, but I hope you got a lot out of the video, and again, how to use a structured text timer inside of CodeSys, and how to actually implement things for a traffic light. So with all that said, see you guys on the next one.